It was a quiet night in a small American town. The kind of town where streets become empty after 9 p.m., where street lights glow softly, where the sound of cars slowly disappears as the night gets deeper. That night, a light rain was falling, not a storm, just soft rain. The kind of rain that makes everything feel calm and slow. Raindrops were tapping gently on windows. Water was shining on the road under the street lights. The whole town felt like it was slowly falling asleep. On the corner of Maple Street, there was a small coffee shop. Its name was Nightlight Coffee. It was a small place, warm lights, wooden tables, soft music playing in the background. This coffee shop stayed open late. Truck drivers came here. Night shift nurses came here. People who were not ready to go home yet came here. And tonight, sitting near the window, there was a man named Ethan. Ethan was 34 years old. He worked in an office in the city about 40 minutes away. Every morning he drove to work in traffic. Every evening he drove back home tired. He lived alone in a small apartment. It was not a bad apartment, but it did not feel like home. It had a couch, a TV, a bed, a small kitchen, but it felt empty. Not because there was no furniture, but because there was no excitement in his life anymore. Ethan was holding a cup of hot coffee with both hands. He was looking outside the window at the rain. He was not sad. He was not happy. He was just thinking about life, thinking about time, thinking about how fast everything had changed. When he was younger, he had big dreams. He wanted to start a business. He wanted to travel across America. He wanted to buy a house for his parents. He wanted to become successful and free. But now he was 34. He had no business. He had no house. He had a job he did not love. And he felt like life was moving too fast. He quietly said to himself, "I thought life would look different by now." The man behind the counter heard him. The coffee shop owner was an old man named Samuel. Samuel was about 68 years old. He had white hair, slow steps, and very kind eyes. He spoke slowly and smiled often. He walked to Ethan's table and placed another cup of coffee there. "This one is on the house," he said. Ethan looked up and smiled a little. "Thank you." Samuel sat down across from him and looked out the window at the rain. After a short silence, Samuel said softly, "Rainy nights make people think about their life." Ethan smiled slightly. "I guess that's true." Samuel nodded and said, "People who look out of rainy windows are usually thinking about the past or worrying about the future." Ethan laughed quietly. "I think I am doing both." The rain continued, tapping softly on the glass. Samuel said, "Let me tell you something I learned in my life." Ethan listened. Most people are not unhappy because life is bad. They are unhappy because life is different from what they expected. Ethan looked at his coffee and said slowly, "Yes, that sounds right." Samuel pointed outside the window. "Do you see that road?" he asked. Ethan looked outside. The road was wet and shiny. Street lights reflected on it like long golden lines. Samuel said, "That road does not go straight all the time. It turns, it goes up, it goes down." Sometimes it is broken. Sometimes it is smooth. He paused for a moment and then said, "Life is that road, but people expect life to be a straight highway." Ethan felt very calm listening to him. Samuel then asked, "Are you tired from work or tired from life?" Ethan thought for a moment and then answered quietly, "Tired from life." Samuel nodded slowly like he understood completely. "Then you don't need a vacation," Samuel said. "You need a new direction." Ethan looked at him and asked, "How do you find a new direction when you feel lost?" Samuel smiled gently and said, "You don't find direction by thinking too much. You find direction by moving. Small steps create new roads." Ethan repeated quietly, "Small steps create new roads." The coffee machine made a soft sound behind the counter. Somebody opened the door. Cold air came in. Then the door closed again. Samuel continued speaking slowly, like someone telling a bedtime story. "When I was 30, I lost my job. When I was 35, my business failed. When I was 40, I had almost no money. When I was 45, I opened this small coffee shop." Ethan looked surprised. "But this place is nice. People love it." Samuel smiled and looked around the quiet shop. "Yes," he said, "but success came very late, and peace came even later." Ethan asked, "When did peace come?" Samuel looked at the rain for a long moment and then said softly, "Peace came when I stopped comparing my life with other people." Ethan did not say anything. Samuel continued, "Comparison is the fastest way to destroy happiness. There will always be someone richer, someone smarter, someone faster. If you compare, you will always feel behind." Ethan slowly nodded. Samuel then said something very important. "You are not behind in life. You are just on a different road." Ethan felt something change inside him when he heard that. Not a big change, just a small, quiet feeling. Hope. The coffee shop became quieter as the night went on. One by one, people left. Soon, only Ethan and Samuel were there. Samuel stood up and turned off some lights. The coffee shop became softer and quieter. Before Ethan left, Samuel said one last thing that night. He said slowly, "Life is not a race. Life is a long road at night. You can only see a few meters ahead. But if you keep walking, the road keeps appearing." Ethan stood there quietly. He did not know why, but those words stayed in his heart. He paid for the coffee, put on his jacket, and walked outside. The rain had almost stopped. The streets were empty. The air was cool and fresh. Street lights reflected on the wet road. He walked slowly to his car but did not start it immediately. He just sat there and listened to the quiet night. And for the first time in many months, he did not feel like a failure. He did not feel successful either. He just felt calm, and sometimes, feeling calm is the beginning of a new life. Ethan started the car and drove home slowly through the quiet streets. That night, when he lay down on his bed, his mind was not full of worries like usual. He just remembered Samuel's words. "You are not behind in life. You are just on a different road." Ethan closed his eyes. Outside, the night was quiet. The world was calm. The rain had stopped, and slowly, very slowly, Ethan fell asleep. Peacefully. The next morning, Ethan woke up earlier than usual. For a few seconds, he did not move. He just lay in bed and looked at the ceiling. The room was quiet. Soft morning light was coming through the window. He could hear a car passing outside, then silence again. Usually when Ethan woke up, the first thing he did was check his phone. Emails, messages, news, work notifications. But this morning, he did something different. He did nothing. He just lay there and breathed slowly. He remembered the rainy night, the coffee shop, Samuel's words. Small steps create new roads. Ethan did not know why, but he felt a little calmer than usual. He got up slowly, went to the kitchen and made coffee. He stood near the window, holding the warm cup, and watched the morning. People were going to work. A woman was walking her dog. A school bus stopped at the corner. 2 kids ran toward it, laughing. Normal life was happening everywhere, and for the first time in a long time, Ethan was not in a hurry. He sat down and thought about his life. He realized something. His life was not terrible. He had a job. He had a place to live. He had food. He was healthy. But he was unhappy because his life was not what he imagined it would be. That realization stayed in his mind for a long time. That day after work, instead of going straight home and turning on the TV, Ethan went to a small park near his apartment. He walked slowly on the path. The evening sky was orange and pink. Children were playing. People were walking their dogs. An old couple was sitting on a bench talking quietly. Ethan sat on an empty bench and just watched people. He noticed something interesting. Nobody looked perfect. Nobody looked like they had everything figured out. Everyone looked like they were just trying to live their life. And then Ethan realized something very important. Everyone is struggling with something. Everyone is trying to figure out life. No one really has everything figured out. That thought made him feel lighter. He was not the only one who felt lost sometimes. That night he slept a little better again. Small changes. Over the next few weeks, Ethan started making small changes in his life. Not big changes, not dramatic changes. Small changes. He started walking for 20 minutes every evening. He started reading 10 pages of a book every night. He started saving a small amount of money every month. He started sleeping earlier. He started waking up earlier. But after 2 weeks, nothing big changed. But something small changed. He felt a little more in control of his life. After 1 month, he felt a little more confident. After 2 months, he felt less lost. His job was still the same. His apartment was still the same. His city was still the same. But his mind was slowly changing. And sometimes life changes first inside us, before it changes outside. Back to the coffee shop. One evening when it started raining again, Ethan went back to the coffee shop. Samuel was there, cleaning a table. He looked at Ethan and smiled. "You look different," Samuel said. Ethan smiled and asked, "Different good or different bad?" Samuel laughed softly. "Different peaceful." Ethan sat near the window again. Raindrops were sliding down the glass slowly. Samuel brought coffee and sat across from him. "So," Samuel asked, "are you still lost?" Ethan thought for a moment and said, "I don't think I am lost anymore. I just don't know where I am going yet." Samuel smiled and nodded. "That is much better than being lost," he said. They both looked outside at the rain for a while. Then Ethan asked, "Samuel, do you ever regret your life?" Samuel thought for a long time before answering. Then he said slowly, "I regret worrying too much. I regret comparing myself to others. I regret not enjoying small moments when I was young." He paused and then said, "But I do not regret failing. Failure teaches more than success." Ethan listened very carefully. Then he asked, "What is the most important thing in life?" Samuel smiled gently and said, "I will tell you the truth. The most important thing in life is not money, not success, not big achievements." He looked around the quiet coffee shop and said softly, "The most important thing in life is peace of mind." The rain continued, tapping softly on the window. Samuel continued, "Some people earn a lot of money but cannot sleep at night. Some people become famous but feel lonely. Some people win everything but still feel empty. But a person who has peace in his heart, that person is truly successful." Ethan sat quietly and thought about that. Then Samuel said something Ethan would never forget. "Build a life you don't need to escape from." Ethan repeated slowly, "Build a life I don't need to escape from." Samuel nodded. Many people build a life where they wait for the weekend, wait for holidays, wait for retirement. Don't build a life you want to escape from. Build a life you want to live. Ethan looked out the window again. The rain, the lights, the quiet street. Everything felt calm. Before Ethan left, Samuel asked him one question. "Have you ever driven with no destination?" Ethan smiled. "No, never," Samuel said. "You should try it one day. Just drive. No destination, no plan. Just drive and think. Sometimes roads outside help us understand roads inside." Ethan smiled. He did not know why, but that idea stayed in his mind. Driving with no destination. A long road, quiet music, open sky, and maybe finding something he had been looking for. Not money, not success, but direction. That night, Ethan went home, lay in bed, and thought about the road. A long road, dark sky, headlights, quiet music, and slowly, very slowly, he fell asleep again. And this time, he was not worried about being behind in life. Because now he knew something important. Life is not a race. Life is a road, and everyone is driving at their own speed. So there is no need to hurry. Just keep moving, slowly, calmly, forward. And now the night is quiet. The road is empty. The wind is soft. Close your eyes. Relax your mind. You don't need to solve everything tonight. Life is a long road, and you are still walking, slowly, peacefully, forward. Good night. After that rainy night at the coffee shop, Ethan did not change his whole life. He did not quit his job. He did not move to another city. He did not start a big business. He just started changing his days. Small changes, very small changes, And sometimes, small changes change everything. Every morning, Ethan started waking up a little earlier. Not very early, just a little earlier than before. He would make coffee and sit near the window. He would watch the morning slowly begin. Cars passing, people walking, shops opening, sunlight touching the buildings. Before, mornings were stressful for him. Now mornings were quiet. He stopped checking his phone immediately after waking up. He stopped starting his day with stress. Instead, he started his day with silence, and that small change made his days feel different. Evening walks. After work, Ethan started going for walks. There was a small park near his apartment. It had a walking path, some trees, and a few benches. Every evening he walked slowly around the park. He was not exercising. He was not listening to loud music. He was just walking and thinking. He noticed many things during those walks. He noticed a man who walked his dog every day, an old couple who always sat on the same bench, kids playing basketball, a woman reading a book under a tree, people talking on phones while walking. Life was happening everywhere. One evening, Ethan sat on a bench and watched the sunset. The sky was orange and pink. Birds were flying back to their nests. The air was cool. But he thought about something Samuel said. Comparison is the fastest way to destroy happiness. Ethan realized he had spent many years comparing his life with other people. Friends who earned more money, people who started businesses, people who bought houses, people who got married, people who seemed successful. But he did not know their problems. He did not know their stress. He only saw their highlights. And he realized something important. Everyone's life looks better from the outside. That thought made him feel peaceful. He stopped thinking, I am behind. He started thinking, I am on my own road. Quiet nights. At night, Ethan started reading books instead of watching TV for hours. He would make tea, sit on the couch, and read slowly. Sometimes he read only 5 pages, sometimes 10, but he was not reading fast. He was reading slowly and thinking. One night he read a sentence that he wrote in his notebook. A peaceful life is a successful life. He looked at that sentence for a long time. When he was younger, success meant money. Big house, nice car, big achievements. But now success meant something different. Success meant sleeping without stress, eating without hurry, talking without fear, living without constant pressure. Having hope for tomorrow. That was a different kind of success. A quieter success. Months passed. Slowly, weeks passed. Then months passed. Nothing dramatic happened, but everything slowly changed. Ethan was still working the same job, still living in the same apartment, still driving the same car. But he was not the same person anymore. He was calmer. He was more patient. He was less worried about other people. He was less afraid of the future. One evening, while walking in the park, he thought, maybe life does not change when everything becomes different. Maybe life changes when we become different. That thought stayed in his mind for many days. Back to the coffee shop again. One rainy evening, Ethan went back to the coffee shop again. Samuel saw him and smiled. You come here only when it rains, Samuel said jokingly. Ethan laughed. Maybe rain makes people honest. They both sat near the window again. The same window, the same rain. But Ethan felt different now. Samuel looked at him and asked, "So what have you learned recently?" Ethan thought for a moment and said slowly, "I learned that life does not need to be perfect to be peaceful. I learned that small changes are powerful. I learned that walking slowly is better than standing still." Samuel smiled proudly. Then Samuel asked him, "Are you still thinking too much about the future?" Ethan replied, "Less than before." Samuel nodded and said, "Good, because the future is built by what you do every normal day, not by what you do once a year." They sat quietly for a while, listening to the rain. Then Samuel asked him something unexpected. "Have you ever taken a long drive alone?" Ethan said, "No, not really." Samuel said, "You should do it. Take a few days, drive, no destination, just drive. Sometimes you leave home to find home." Ethan looked at him and asked, "What do you mean?" Samuel smiled and said, "Sometimes you travel far and realize what really matters. Sometimes you meet strangers who teach you life. Sometimes the long roads clear a busy mind." Ethan looked out the window at the wet road and street lights. A long road, night drive, quiet music. He liked that idea very much. That night when he went home, he did something different. He opened a map on his laptop. He looked at roads, highways, small towns, mountains, long, empty roads. He did not plan everything, but he decided something important. He decided he would take a road trip, alone, with no big plan. Just drive and think about life. Sometimes a small decision changes the direction of life, and Ethan did not know it yet. But that road trip was going to change his life, slowly, quietly, step by step, like sunrise, like rain, like a long road that never ends. And that night, Ethan slept with a small smile on his face, because for the first time in many years, he was looking forward to something. Not a promotion, not more money, but a road, a long quiet road. And sometimes a long quiet road is exactly what the heart needs. Close your eyes now. Imagine a long road, soft music, night sky, cool wind. You are not in a hurry. You are not lost. You are just traveling, slowly, peacefully, forward. Good night. A few weeks after that conversation with Samuel, Ethan decided it was time. Time to take a break. Time to take a drive. Time to leave the city for a few days. Not to run away from life, but to think about life. He packed a small bag, just a few clothes, a notebook, a pen, a water bottle, some snacks. Nothing heavy. He did not want a heavy bag, and he did not want a heavy mind. Early Saturday morning, before sunrise, Ethan put the bag in his car and started the engine. The city was still sleeping. The streets were empty. Traffic lights were changing colors for no cars. He drove slowly through the quiet streets. Buildings passed. Gas stations passed. Closed shops passed. Slowly, the city disappeared behind him. Soon, he was on a long highway. The sky was slowly turning blue. The sun was not fully up yet. The world looked calm and new. Ethan turned on soft music. Not loud music, just soft music that matched the road. He rested his hands on the steering wheel and kept driving. No hurry, no deadline, no boss calling, no emails, just road. After about an hour, the sun started rising. The sky turned orange, then pink, then light blue. Fields were on both sides of the road. Long open land, trees here and there, telephone poles going up and down like a slow rhythm. Ethan opened the car window a little. Cool air came inside. Fresh air, quiet air. He took a deep breath and smiled. He had driven this highway before, many times. But this time felt different, because this time he was not driving to reach somewhere. He was driving just to drive. And that made all the difference. The first stop after a few hours, Ethan saw a small roadside diner. It was the kind of diner you see in small American towns. Big windows, a parking lot with a few trucks, a sign that said breakfast all day. He parked the car and went inside. Inside there were red chairs and wooden tables. Soft country music was playing. A truck driver was drinking coffee. An old man was reading a newspaper. Ethan sat at the counter. A waitress came and smiled. "Coffee?" she asked. Ethan nodded. "Yes, please." She poured coffee and asked, "Where are you heading?" Ethan smiled and said, "I don't know yet, I'm just driving." She laughed softly and said, "You know, most people drive every day but go nowhere. Very few people drive with no destination and actually find something." Ethan asked, "What do they find?" She smiled and said, "They find themselves." Ethan did not reply, but he thought about that sentence for a long time. After breakfast, he paid the bill, thanked her, and went back to his car. Back on the road. The road was long and quiet again. Sometimes he listened to music. Sometimes he drove in silence. He started thinking about his life again. But this time, he was not thinking with stress. He was thinking with calm. He thought about his past mistakes, his failures, his missed opportunities. But for the first time, he did not feel angry at himself. He thought, "I did the best I could at that time." That thought made him feel peaceful. Many people are not tired because of work. They are tired because they are angry at their past. But the past is a closed road. You cannot drive there again. You can only drive forward. Ethan kept driving. Mountains started appearing in the distance. The road slowly started going up and turning. The air became cooler. Trees became taller. The sky looked bigger. He turned off the music and just listened to the sound of the engine and the wind. It was peaceful. Very peaceful. And while driving through the mountains, Ethan realized something very important. Maybe life is not about reaching somewhere fast. Maybe life is about becoming someone while traveling. He did not know why, but that sentence stayed in his mind. Evening in the mountains. By evening, the sky started turning orange again. Ethan found a small place to stay, a small wooden cabin motel in the mountains. It was very quiet there. No city noise, no traffic sound, only wind in the trees. He rented a small cabin. Inside the cabin there was a small bed, a wooden chair, a small table, a lamp, a window facing the forest. He sat near the window at night with the lamp on. Outside, trees were moving slowly with the wind. The sky was dark. Everything was quiet. He opened his notebook and wrote something. "I don't need a perfect life. I just need a peaceful life." He looked at that sentence for a long time. Then he wrote another sentence. "Walk slowly. Life is not running away from you." The wind outside made a soft sound. The cabin felt warm and safe. Ethan turned off the lamp and lay down on the bed. He listened to the wind in the trees. Slow wind, quiet night, dark mountains. And for the first time in many years, he felt like he was exactly where he needed to be. Not because it was a special place, but because his mind was finally quiet. And when the mind becomes quiet, life becomes peaceful, slowly, very slowly. Ethan closed his eyes and fell asleep. Outside, the wind moved through the trees. The night was calm. The road was waiting for tomorrow, and the journey was just beginning. Close your eyes now. Imagine a long road through mountains, cool wind, quiet night, soft stars in the sky. You are not lost. You are just traveling, slowly, peacefully, forward. Good night. The next morning, Ethan woke up in the small wooden cabin in the mountains. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then he heard the wind outside. Soft wind moving through the trees. A quiet, peaceful sound. He sat up slowly and looked out the window. Tall trees, soft morning light. A quiet road in the distance. No traffic noise, no city noise, no alarms, just morning. He made a cup of coffee using the small coffee maker in the cabin and sat by the window. He did nothing for a long time. He just sat there, holding the warm cup, and watched the morning, and he realized something simple but very important. Peace is not a place. Peace is a state of mind. He finished his coffee, packed his bag, and started driving again. The road went down from the mountains toward a small town. After about an hour of driving, which he reached a very small town. The town had one gas station, one grocery store, one small restaurant, a few houses, a small church, and very quiet streets. He stopped at the gas station to fill fuel. Next to the gas station, there was an old man sitting on a wooden chair outside. He was wearing a hat and slowly drinking coffee from a paper cup. Ethan filled the gas and then sat near him for a few minutes. The old man looked at him and smiled. "You're not from around here," he said. Ethan smiled. "No, I'm just traveling." The old man nodded slowly and said, "Good. Traveling teaches things that staying in one place never can." Ethan asked, "Like what?" The old man looked at the road for a long moment and then said, "Traveling teaches you that the world is big, but most people have the same problems everywhere." Ethan listened quietly. The old man continued, "People in big cities worry about money. People in small towns worry about work. Young people worry about the future. Old people worry about the past. Everyone is worrying about something." Ethan smiled a little. "That sounds true." The old man then said something very slowly, like he had said it many times before. "You know what the secret to a good life is?" Ethan asked. "What?" The old man held up 3 fingers and said, 3 things. Someone to love, something to do, something to hope for. Ethan repeated slowly. Someone to love, something to do, something to hope for. The old man nodded. That's enough for a good life. People try to make life too big and too complicated. But a good life is usually a simple life. They sat quietly for a while. Cars passed slowly on the road. Wind moved dust across the ground. The town was quiet and slow. Then Ethan asked him, "Did you always live here?" The old man smiled. "Yes, I lived in big cities when I was young. I worked a lot. I chased money. I chased success. I was always busy." He paused and then said, "But I was never peaceful." Ethan listened carefully. The old man continued, "One day I realized I was running my whole life, but I didn't even know where I was going." Ethan felt that sentence deeply. The old man pointed at the road and said, "Look at that road. Cars go fast on it every day, but if you ask drivers where they are really going in life, many of them don't know." Ethan looked at the road. Cars passing, people traveling, everyone moving. But moving where? That question stayed in his mind. The old man then said something Ethan would remember for the rest of his life. "Don't spend your whole life running. Spend your life walking in the right direction." Ethan repeated quietly, "Walking in the right direction?" The old man nodded. "Slow is fine. Wrong direction is the real problem." They both sat quietly again. Then the old man smiled and asked, "Are you running away from something or driving toward something?" Ethan thought for a long time before answering. Then he said slowly, "I think I am trying to find direction." The old man smiled warmly. "Good. That is a very honest answer. Most people are lost but pretend they know where they are going." Ethan laughed a little. Then the old man finished his coffee and stood up slowly. Before leaving, Woody said one last thing. "Remember this. A peaceful life is better than a perfect life." Then he walked slowly toward the small store and disappeared inside. Ethan sat there for a few more minutes thinking. Then he got into his car and started driving again. Back on the road. Again. The road was long and quiet again. Fields on both sides, blue sky above, long empty road ahead. Ethan was thinking about everything he heard on this trip. Samuel in the coffee shop, the waitress in the diner, the old man at the gas station, different people, different lives. But all of them were saying almost the same thing. Slow down, don't compare. Life is not a race. Peace is more important than speed. Walk in the right direction. Ethan realized something very important. Life keeps sending us lessons through people, but we are usually too busy to listen. He drove for a long time thinking about that. The road stretched far ahead. The sky looked endless. The world looked calm and slow. And for the first time in many years, Ethan did not feel lost anymore. He did not know exactly where he was going, but he felt like he was finally going in the right direction. And sometimes, that is enough. You don't need to know the whole road. You just need to know you are moving in the right direction. The sun slowly started setting again. The sky turned orange, then pink, then purple. Ethan kept driving slowly into the evening light, and the road continued forward. Long, quiet, endless, just like life. Close your eyes now. Imagine a long road, soft sunset, cool wind, empty highway. You are not late. You are not lost. You are just on a long road home. Slowly, peacefully, forward. Good night. The sun was almost setting when Ethan reached another small town. This town was a little bigger than the last one, but still very quiet. There were small shops, street lights, a few restaurants, and people walking slowly on the sidewalks. Ethan was not tired, but he decided to stop and walk for a while. He parked the car near the main street and started walking slowly. The evening air was cool. Street lights were turning on one by one. A dog barked somewhere far away. A couple walked past him, talking quietly. Everything felt slow and peaceful. As he walked down the street, he saw a small bookstore. It had a warm yellow light inside and a wooden sign that said, "Books and Coffee." Ethan stopped and looked through the window. Inside, there were tall bookshelves, wooden tables, and a small coffee counter in the corner. But it looked very peaceful. So he opened the door and went inside. A small bell rang when the door opened. Inside, it smelled like books and coffee. Soft music was playing in the background. There were only two people inside. A young woman sitting behind the counter reading a book, and an older lady slowly walking between the shelves. Ethan walked around the shelves slowly, looking at the books. Travel books, life stories, motivation books, old novels, poetry books. He picked up a book and sat at a small wooden table. After a few minutes, the woman from the counter came over and asked softly, "Would you like some coffee?" Ethan smiled. Yes, that would be nice. She brought him a cup of hot coffee and sat on the chair across from him. "You're not from here," she said. Ethan smiled again. "I guess it's easy to see." She laughed softly. "Yes. People who live here don't usually come to the bookstore at night. They go home, watch TV, and sleep." Ethan asked, "Do you live here?" She nodded. "Yes, I grew up here. I left for a few years, but I came back." Ethan asked, "Why did you come back?" She looked around the bookstore and said, "Because I realized something very important. I was trying to build a big life, but I was not building a happy life." Ethan listened carefully. She continued, "In the city, everything is fast. People walk fast. People talk fast. People eat fast. People live fast, but nobody asks if they are happy." She looked at Ethan and asked, "Are you happy?" Ethan did not answer immediately. He looked at his coffee cup for a long moment and then said quietly, "I don't know. I think I forgot to ask myself that question." She smiled gently and said, "That happens to many people. They become busy building a life and forget to build happiness." They sat quietly for a moment. Then she stood up and went to one of the shelves. She came back with a book and placed it on the table in front of Ethan. On the cover it said, "The life you are looking for is already inside you." Ethan looked at the title for a long time. She said, "People think they need a new city, a new job, more money, a bigger house, or a different life to be happy. But most of the time they just need a different way of thinking." Ethan asked, "What do you mean?" She smiled and said, "Gratitude instead of comparison. Patience instead of stress. Simple life instead of complicated life. Slow mornings instead of busy mornings. Quiet nights instead of noisy nights. She then said something very slowly. A beautiful life is not a life where everything is perfect. A beautiful life is a life where you learn to enjoy simple things. Ethan felt very calm listening to her. He looked around the bookstore again. Wooden shelves, warm lights, quiet music, smell of coffee. Pages of books turning slowly. Everything was simple, but everything felt peaceful. He realized something again. Maybe happiness is not in big things. Maybe happiness is in small, quiet moments like this. He finished his coffee and bought the book she gave him. Before leaving, he asked her, "If you could give one life advice, what would it be?" She thought for a moment and then said, "Don't rush your life. You are not late. You are not behind. You are just on your own path." Ethan smiled and said, "Thank you." He walked out of the bookstore. Outside, the night was calm and cool. Streetlights were glowing softly. The town was very quiet. He sat in his car for a few minutes but did not start the engine. He just sat there thinking about everything he heard on this trip. Samuel said, "Don't compare your life." The waitress said, "You find yourself when you travel." The old man said, "Walk in the right direction." The bookstore woman said, "Don't rush your life. Different people, different towns, different lives." But all the lessons were slowly connecting together. Ethan leaned his head back and closed his eyes for a moment. He felt calm, very calm. For the first time in many years, he did not feel pressure to become someone. He did not feel pressure to run faster. He did not feel pressure to prove anything. He just felt like a person on a long road, learning life slowly. He opened his eyes, started the car, and drove slowly through the quiet night streets. Streetlights passed one by one. Shops were closed. The road was empty. He drove slowly out of the town and back onto the long highway. Dark road, soft headlights, stars in the sky, and the road continued forward, slow, quiet, peaceful, just like his mind now. Close your eyes now. Imagine a quiet small town, a warm bookstore, soft lights, a cup of coffee, a calm night road. You are not in a hurry. Life is not a race. You are just living, slowly, peacefully, one day at a time. Good night. That night, Ethan drove for a long time. The highway was almost empty. Only a few cars passed him now and then. Headlights appeared in the distance and slowly disappeared behind him. The sky was very clear. There were many stars, more stars than he had seen in a long time. In the city, you don't see many stars. There are too many lights, too much noise, too much movement. But out here on the long dark road, the sky looked big and endless. After some time, Ethan saw a sign, Lake View, 2 miles. He did not plan to stop, but something inside him told him to turn. So he turned. The road became smaller and darker. Tall trees stood on both sides of the road. His headlights moved across the trees as he drove slowly. After a few minutes, the trees opened and he saw the lake. It was very quiet, very still. The water looked like black glass under the night sky. There was a small parking area and a wooden bench near the water. Ethan parked the car, turned off the engine, and stepped outside. The air was cool, very fresh, very quiet. No cars, no people, no city noise. Only a very soft sound of water touching the shore. He walked slowly to the wooden bench and sat down. In front of him was the lake. Above him were the stars. Around him were tall, dark trees. Everything was silent. And for the first time in many, many years, Ethan sat in complete silence. No phone, no music, no talking, no thinking about work, just silence. At first, his mind was still busy. He thought about work, money, future, past mistakes, things he should have done, things he should not have done. But slowly, very slowly, his thoughts became quieter. He watched the water, small waves touching the shore again and again. He watched the stars reflecting in the lake. He listened to the wind moving through the trees. And after some time, he felt something very strange. He felt calm, not happy, not sad, just calm. And he realized something very important in that silent moment. Most of our stress comes from noise. Noise outside, noise inside our mind. But when there is silence, the mind finally rests. He sat there for a very long time. Then he remembered something Samuel had told him in the coffee shop. You don't need to control everything. You just need to keep going. Then he remembered the old man at the gas station. Slow is fine. Wrong direction is the real problem. Then he remembered the woman in the bookstore. Don't rush your life. You are not late. All the lessons from this journey came back to his mind at the same time. And suddenly, everything started making sense. Ethan realized something that changed the way he looked at life forever. Life is not a race. Life is not a competition. Life is a journey, and everyone is walking at their own speed. Some people run, some people walk, some people rest, some people get lost, some people change direction. But everyone is just trying to find their way. And for the first time, Ethan stopped being angry at his life. He stopped being angry at his past. He stopped being afraid of his future. He just sat there, looking at the lake, breathing slowly, feeling peaceful. After a long time, he said quietly to himself, maybe my life is not wrong. Maybe my life is just different. That sentence made his heart feel light, very light. He realized he was not a failure. He was not behind. He was not lost. He was just on a longer road. And long roads are not bad roads. They just take more time. The wind moved slowly across the lake again. Small waves touched the shore again and again. The stars were still shining above him. Ethan leaned back on the bench and looked at the sky. He thought about how big the world is. How many people are alive right now? How many people are worried? How many people are tired? How many people feel lost? And he realized something very deep. Everyone is fighting a battle you cannot see. So be kind to people, and be kind to yourself too. He closed his eyes for a moment and listened to the night. Water, wind, silence. And in that quiet moment, Ethan felt something he had not felt in a very long time. Peace. Not because his problems were gone, not because his life was perfect, not because he had all the answers, but because he finally stopped fighting everything. Sometimes peace comes not when everything is solved, but when you stop trying to control everything. After some time, he stood up slowly and looked at the lake one last time. Then he said quietly, "I will be okay. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day, I will be okay." He walked back to his car slowly, started the engine, turned on the headlights, and drove slowly back to the main road. The night road was empty again. The sky was full of stars again. But this time, Ethan was not just driving on the road. He felt like he was finally moving forward in life too. Slowly, peacefully, step by step. Close your eyes now. Imagine a quiet lake at night. Still water, soft wind, stars in the sky, cool air, complete silence. Your life is not late. Your life is not wrong. Your life is just your own road. Walk slowly, breathe slowly. Everything will be okay. Good night. After leaving the lake, Ethan drove for a long time in silence. The road was dark, but he was not in a hurry. He drove slowly, like he now drove through life, without rushing. The night felt different now. The road felt different. Even his thoughts felt different. Before this trip, when Ethan used to drive at night, his mind was always full of worries. Work, money, future, fear, failure, regret. But tonight, his mind was quiet. Not empty, just quiet. There's a big difference between an empty mind and a quiet mind. An empty mind feels lonely. A quiet mind feels peaceful. Ethan kept driving and thinking about his journey. The coffee shop in the city, the diner on the highway, the old man at the gas station, the bookstore in the small town, the silent lake under the stars. Every place gave him a lesson. Every person gave him a new way to think. Every road changed something inside him, and he realized something very important. Sometimes you don't need more money. Sometimes you don't need a new job. Sometimes you don't need a new life. Sometimes you just need a new perspective. The road stretched far in front of him. Headlights lit the black road. White lines passed under the car again and again. Life is also like that road. You can only see a little distance ahead. You cannot see the whole journey, but if you keep driving, the road keeps appearing. You don't need to see the whole life. You just need to take the next step. Morning drive. After many hours of driving, the sky slowly started turning blue again. Morning was coming. The sun slowly rose behind the hills. Golden light spread across the road. Trees and fields began to glow in the morning light. Ethan stopped the car near an open field and stepped outside. The air was cold and fresh. Birds were making soft sounds. The world felt new again. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes. He felt grateful. Grateful for the road, grateful for the journey, grateful for the people he met, grateful for the lessons he learned, grateful for his life, even if it was not perfect. And for the first time in many years, Ethan did not wish for a different life. He just wanted to live his life better, slower, calmer, smarter, kinder, peacefully. He got back into the car and started driving toward his city again. But he was not the same person who left the city a few days ago. The road was the same. The car was the same. The world was the same. But Ethan had changed. And sometimes that is enough to change everything. Back to the city. By afternoon, Ethan could see the big city buildings again in the distance. Tall buildings, traffic, noise, busy roads. The same city he had left a few days ago. But this time, he was not feeling stress while entering the city. He was calm because he understood something now. Peace is not in the mountains. Peace is not at the lake. Peace is not in small towns. Peace is inside you. You just have to learn how to carry it everywhere. He reached his apartment, parked his car, and went inside. Everything was the same. The same sofa, the same table, the same kitchen, the same window. But he opened the window and let fresh air come inside. Then he made a cup of coffee and sat near the window quietly. Cars were moving on the road below. People were walking fast. The city was busy again, but Ethan was not busy inside anymore. He opened his notebook and wrote a few lines. Life is not a race. Walk slowly. Be kind to yourself. Don't compare your life. Small steps are still steps. Peace is more important than perfection. You are not late. You are on your own path. Just keep going. He closed the notebook and smiled. He did not become rich on this trip. He did not become famous. He did not solve all his problems. But he found something more important. He found peace. He found direction. He found hope. And sometimes, that is more valuable than success. Final relaxing ending. That night, Ethan went to bed early. He turned off the lights and lay down quietly. Outside, the city lights were glowing. Cars were moving slowly. Somewhere far away, a siren sound echoed and disappeared. But he closed his eyes and imagined the long road again. The mountains, the diner, the gas station, the bookstore, the lake, the sunrise on the empty road. And he smiled, because now he understood something very simple about life. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to keep moving forward calmly and honestly. Life is a long road, and you are exactly where you need to be right now. He took a slow, deep breath, then another. His mind was quiet. His heart was calm. His body was relaxed, and slowly, very slowly, Ethan fell asleep. Final words for the listener. Very soft ending. Now imagine a long, quiet road at night. Soft wind, dark sky full of stars, cool air, empty highway. You are driving slowly. No hurry, no pressure, no race. Just a long, peaceful road. Your life is not late. Your life is not wrong. And your life is just your own journey. Walk slowly. Breathe slowly. Everything will be okay. Good night. Sleep peacefully.